Okay, welcome to In the Line of Hire, the show that brings you instant reaction and views to the outstanding BBC TV show, The Apprentice. As you know by now, and I keep reminding people if you don't know, I was lucky enough to be part of the Apprentice journey by winning Series 4 back in the day. I know I probably inspired all these other Apprentice winners for my early days back on the show, not as the case may be. And over the next 12 weeks, we'll be running a series of shows looking back at the class of 2022 with some very, very special guests. As ever, each week I'm going to be joined by our resident expert on business psychology and my business brother, my COO and co-founder of the assessment platform, Phoenix 51. Welcome, Chris. How are you getting on, bud?
Yeah, very well, mate. Delighted to be here. Another really interesting week. I've got some really interesting analytics to share today.
Definitely. Looking forward to it. Chris will be sharing all the analysis and all the data on each of the candidates via our platform, Phoenix 51. You can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, and be interactive with us as well with the live streams on YouTube, LinkedIn Live. You can also download all of this content as a podcast via Audio Boom as well. Okay, let's get to it. This week, I'm delighted to be joined by the 2014 winner and of The Apprentice, the CEO of Climb Online, the current business partner to Lord Sugar, and can I say a dear friend of mine as well, Mark Wright. You are on In the Line of Hire podcast. Mark, welcome to the show. How are you getting on?
What an introduction. Thank you, my friend Lee. It's great to be with you. And you did inspire me to go on to that show. Looking back at yourself and Ricky and the other sales guys, there's a lot of similarities between us all. And it's great to see the show back on. And it's good to be with you guys. I found the first 2 episodes so intriguing, and for many reasons, generally because the horrendous performance of the lads and the great performance of the ladies, which I'm sure we'll get into. But yeah, it's great to be back here, and it's great to be talking Apprentice again.
Definitely, it's always that time of year, isn't it? When we look up into our network, and for the viewers and the listeners as well, I must add that it is quite a unique team of people, isn't it, Mark? You know, there's only 15 or 16 people that have actually won the show in this country, and to be part of that kind of alumni, dare I say, is quite unique, isn't it? It's quite nice to be part of that.
It's a really hard thing to describe, because when you win, as you know, Lee, there's very, very few people, especially when you and I won, there was even less people that had ever won. And you're kind of getting a profile for the first time. You're in business with Lord Sugar for the first time, and all these things are happening. And there's no one there to support you or mentor you, because there's no one that's ever done this experience. So the other Apprentice winners club together, and I know we've had a lot of coffees and lunches together, as well as the other Apprentice winners, and it's such a special thing that I know when I'm laying on my deathbed, this experience going on that program, knowing the other winners, is going to be one of the highlights of my life. It's to date been the most special experience of my life.
I mean, I echo everything you say. I absolutely love it. So just while you're on that then, just for the viewers and the listeners, what's your journey been like? It was back in 2014. So yeah. What's your journey been like? What was it like to win? And what are you doing with yourself now? Talk to us about Climb Online and everything else you're involved in, Mark.
Well, my series runs a lot of parallels with this series. I won season 10, 2014. And before series 10, there was a 2-year break after Leah Totten won series 9. So there was a big break. There was a lot of appetite for The Apprentice again. And with coronavirus, we've had a big break till this season. And as you know, with the ratings, they're way up this year. And I think that's what happened in my series as well. So I came out, we won. Average audience size was around 7 million viewers in the year that I won. I came out. I went from being a backpacker here from Australia to having over 150,000 followers on social media, all these selfies, all this craziness, meeting people like yourself, Lee. It was just like, it was so much to take in. I was working in a call center doing sales. Now I'm kind of like this famous business guy from a TV show. I'm in business with Lord Sugar. I had the £250,000 transferred to a business account, and Lord Sugar made me move out to Loughton, which I still am there today. And we started a business called Climb Online. If you fast forward, now let me say this, every day since I've won that show, my life's been different. From the moment he pointed at me and said, "You're going to be my business partner," my life completely changed in every single way. I was able to buy a car. I've been able to buy a house. My life has completely changed financially. But that's from hard work and the mentorship I've received from Lord Sugar. But the profile of the show was unbelievable. And whoever goes on to win this show is going to know what you and I have been through, Lee. It is when they say it's a life-changing experience, let me tell you, your life changes in every single way. Not all positive, but let me say 90% of it is really positive and a serious opportunity. I've got an award-winning business. We have over 60 staff here. We turn over 10 million pounds. And I've got a real business. And you look at these people that go on reality TV shows and wonder if the prize is real. Well, let me tell you, the prize is really real.
It's incredible to hear your passion, your enthusiasm. You know, I almost get emotional thinking about I don't get to talk about it that much. People just laugh at me now. Like, oh, blimey, you know, people don't even know you are. Like, was on a previous apprenticeship show, but you know, I get emotional hearing your passion and enthusiasm because I feel exactly the same. Like, it completely changed my life. You know, that I've run a really successful recruitment business, and now obviously Phoenix 51 co-founded with Chris back in September. Over the last 10 years, and that entrepreneurial journey would never have happened had I not been on The Apprentice. So I completely agree with you that the change in your life was quite incredible, isn't it? To think that I was just a normal bloke living in back in the day, living in a council house, and my dad's a milkman and all that sort of stuff. And, you know, fast forward 15, 20 years, all of a sudden I've won The Apprentice and I'm, you know, almost on top of the world. Does that make sense?
It's exactly the same as me and the other guys and girls that have won it. And, you know, one of the things, which is a bit cheesy to say, probably the best thing is I'm a bit of a Lord Sugar fan, and I'm more of a fan of him now after working with him for 7 years than I was when I came out of The Apprentice. Like, he is a cool dude. He's an old school gangster, original businessman. He does it old fashioned. He's tough. And him and I just click, you know, and it's not for everyone. It's not everyone's style, but I love competition. I love getting driven hard, and he knows how to work with me, and he's got the best out of me. He's given me an opportunity, and I'll be forever thankful, you know, to people like yourself and him and everyone who's around me, that we've made something of that opportunity. And, you know, I don't think these guys and girls on this program even realize the opportunity that's, they probably, you know, some probably want to be on Sky Sport or be in a magazine. But if you use it for what it is, you can make a lot more money or do a lot better than just being on Sky Sports.
100% agree. Look, you know, we've all got egos. You don't go on a TV show if you ain't got an ego. Let's be honest about it. So in the comments to bruise my ego, people. But the reality is you do it the right way. I'm pretty certain that's one of the reasons why I won. I think, you know, the passion and enthusiasm for what you're demonstrating now, that is clear to see. I remember your series. I've watched all of The Apprentices. I remember your series with really, really fond memories, and it's an absolute joy to have you with us, Mark. So look, let's get into the class of 2022. Obviously you're watching. Just quickly, Mark, what do you think so far of the dynamics of the candidates across the 2 episodes so far in whole, class of 2022? What are you thinking?
Fascinating. I think the girls are tremendous. Like, I think they're really, really, really good. The intelligence, the way they're conducting themselves, the way they're putting themselves forward, the way they're communicating, it's really, really good. And the blokes are shocking. They are really weak. I mean,
why is this, Mark? Why are the lads so bad?
Well, if you look back in the last 3 years, the men's team have lost the first 3 or 4 tasks every single time, every single year. And there might be genuinely a sex dynamic there where there's something in the makeup of the guys just don't work as well together or something, but they do not do well in those opening tasks every single year. But this year, I must say, is the worst by far. But I think it's mainly because the ladies' team is so strong. It is really
they are definitely strong. There's no doubt. It's interesting if you could remember did the lads. When did you split from in your series in series 10? When did you split from being an all lads team to kind of mixed up boys and girls? We had the first 3 tasks.
Week 3 or 4, we got battered like this. These guys are. We got battered, and then they ended up. There was no one left in our team, so we had to mould into the other one. So much the same as this one. But in my year, we had 20 contestants. So there was a lot more people because we were the 10th anniversary, which, Lee, I'm afraid to tell you, makes me the best winner because statistically, I beat the most people to win.
Anyway, Don't start finding statistics out there. You just told me in the green room that you lost 9 tasks. So statistically, I'll tell you what, I only lost 3, and I was never in the final 3 of the boardroom. So statistically, I reckon I'm still up there, fella.
Yeah, maybe. All right.
But just talking about that dynamic. So yeah, definitely, the ladies are sweeping the floor at the moment with the boys for sure. What was it like in the boardroom, Mark? Just talking about that, what try and convey to the viewers and the listeners what it's like going back in that boardroom, because I look back on it, and even now when I hear that music, I take a deep breath. I'll be honest with you, it does something to me. What was it like going back in the boardroom and fighting for to stay in the competition essentially?
Well, my partner and I were watching it the other night when I was on TV, and the music comes on and they go into the boardroom, and I started getting almost like flashbacks, like some sort of shell shock. I started getting the feelings and the vibe running through me. And I've done a lot of things in my life. I've done a lot of things in business, and that boardroom is still the scariest place I've ever experienced in real life, because emotionally it's like a live or die scenario. If he fires you, you're going in that taxi and that's the end of your journey.
That's
and
it.
You've put so much of your personal life on hold to be there that you do not want to get, I can't describe how bad you don't want to get fired. And the production do a great job in G'ing you up. You've given up your life to be there. And it is actually just by nature a really scary sort of environment. Lord Sugar's there, Karen Brady's there. And you kind of are just pumped up. And you'll do anything or say anything to be there. And I can't remember any other time in my life where I've been in an environment where logic and everything just leaves and it's just killer instinct there.
Crazy, isn't it? It's absolutely crazy. I mean, I have to say as well, I think Tim's doing an outstanding job as Lord Sugar's new aide in substitute for Claude. Of course, one of our own. Tim won the first series way back in the day, even earlier than me, obviously. So he's one of our own in terms of the winners. He's doing a phenomenal job. I just want to kind of get your take on the actual episode itself. It's the toothbrush task. The boys got absolutely battered in the first task. They've come back to this task and they've designed a toothbrush basically with the same color palette as the logo from last week that was described as a turd. I mean, you could not make this stuff up. What is going on, Mark, with the lads?
Well, I think it's two things. The lack of willingness to put yourself forward and say, that looks like a turd. That's a bad idea. This is not good. Everyone's so scared of getting fired that they're not prepared to come forward and say, let's try something different, or this doesn't look good. And when you don't come forward and be honest in business, what that results in is poor performance, poor products. And that's what we're seeing with the boys is that was the clearest as day. It looked like a piece of poo. It really looked bad. From the modeling before they could have stopped that at so many different stages, and no one said anything. And then you end up with a poor product. And I actually think Aaron was really lucky not to get fired because he was so content on having that brown handle. And, multiple times he got asked by the retailer, should you change the handle? No, it's got to stay brown. And, little things like that. He's super lucky to still be in the process after that because the boys lacked the communication between themselves. They didn't come forward. There was a lot of boys just missing from the whole task completely. And the only guys that did put themselves forward with really bad performance. So all in all, disaster, really.
Well, we'll get into it. We'll come over to Chris in a minute to do some data via the platform in a second. But just to balance that out, what about the ladies? I mean, I personally felt that Francesca, I quite liked her from last week. She's quite forward-thinking, quite assertive. Catherine didn't really pull her in last week. And then this week she gets an opportunity to really put herself forward and becomes project manager. And to be fair, I think she's done a pretty good job. What did you think of Francesca and the team of girls?
Amazing. I mean, Amy, Catherine, all these guys. What I really like about them is what's scary on The Apprentice when you're a candidate, as you'll know, Lee, is when you say something, you're kind of thinking, if they go with me and it doesn't work, that puts me immediately in the line of fire, right?
Totally does.
It's scary to say things and suggest things.
100%.
And
it's easy to say that, isn't it, Mark? Just to interact with it. It's easy to go, well, do you know what? If I'm wrong, So I might not say anything. And that's what I'm saying. Fortune favors the brave. If you stay in your comfort zone, you're never going to learn. You're never going to be put your head above the parapet. Actually, it's the people that put themselves out there. They're the ones that start to. Maybe that's why Aaron didn't get fired, because he did put himself forward. But
and that's what I like so much about the girls. If you look at Francesca, if you look at from the previous week, you look at Catherine, you look at Amy, they are constantly flooding the zone with ideas, arguing with one another, which is a huge risk strategy, because if you push so hard and they go with you and you lose, you open yourself up for trouble. But what they're doing is pushing hard and winning easily, and it makes them look great. And it's because the boys have gone the reverse strategy, sort of hiding back, sitting in the background, kind of half putting an idea forward. So you end up with a really poor product, bad sales, and they're losing comprehensively. But it's impressed me just how much self-belief and how strong the ladies team are. And it'd be very hard at this stage to see anything but a lady winner at the end of the process. And we're only 2 weeks in, but the last few series have all had female winners. So I'm hoping one of the blokes steps up.
Lads.
Yeah.
Come on, boys. Where are you? You've got to step up, lads. Come on. I'm sure they can do it. I mean, I totally agree. Let's see if the data backs some up of what we've been saying so far. Chris, over to you on the data side of things. Have you got any data that can essentially back up what Mark and myself have been saying?
Yeah, sure. So if we look at the data overall, like when you're considering the ladies in particular, you can see that there's a clear winner, I think, of the actual episode itself, and that was Francesca, who scored 20, and then Catherine and Amy on 14, who I think actually did well to put their own ideas forward, as you mentioned, Mark, against a very strong team leader. I think there was an example where Francesca said, I really just want that orange toothbrush. But then when it actually went to the design, they almost said, well, look, we're going to go with the orange idea, but we need something more on that. So they actually challenged their team leader, but it actually paid off in the end. And they showed that strength of conviction and actually produced, I think, a very good product. So for me, if we're talking about the ladies, first of all, those three were absolute standouts, and the data supports that. So Francesca, Catherine, and Amy. I think Sophie as well, she did contribute some ideas to start off with, but she went a bit quiet towards the back end. So I think there's more to come from Sophie. And Sharma really wanted to get involved, and she wanted to, be project manager. She wanted to contribute ideas, but I think Francesca, I either saw her as a threat or backed her own commerciality to say, no, I've got this. But I think there's definitely more to come from Sharma as well. So if you have a look as an overall, you've got 15 candidates in there. The ladies make up the large proportion of the top 10. There's only one lady that was in the bottom 5 from this week, just to show and really back up that strength that the ladies are really running away with it at the moment.
Definitely.
I think, Chris, to touch on, look where Akshay is there, dead last, 2 points on the system, and Akeem. I think they were so much heavily carrying the burden of task 1 through with them from a hangover of Akshay was very close to going as the PM from last week, and these guys were running a bit scared from the boardroom, and I think that's really affected their performance in this week as well.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think what's interesting is that, if we take, say, Aaron as an example and Connor, both of them actually scored fairly well, even though I don't think their decision-making, their creative ideas were very good. At least they put themselves forward. But by essentially putting yourself forward with them bad ideas, it puts you in the firing line. So they ended up being, in the bottom 3. But they by far outscored Naveed, Alex, and Akshay, because they essentially did nothing. They were running scared. And I think that they will get found out as the series progresses if they don't start contributing.
Can you imagine when some of these tough girls, Francesca and Catherine and Amy, come up against these blokes, if they don't learn how to get their point across and communicate and be a bit stronger?
I think the thing with Alex for me is when I looked at the profile of Alex, and when you go over there, I was chatting to Karina on the last week's show about this as well. Is when you go over the bridge for the first time and you don't know anybody, you ain't seen anybody before. You might recognise a couple of faces from pre kind of assessments or interviews or whatever, but you don't really know anyone. And you'll start eyeballing people, don't you? Most people do this, viewers and listeners. I'm sure you do this as well. But Mark, did you eyeball someone and go, that's my competition, like straight away on that bridge walk? And I'm just wondering, and Alex, I looked at him and I thought, I reckon he could do all right this season. I think he could be quite good. But Alex coming up against, like you say, like a Francesca or Catherine, who I have to say, I've been very impressed with Catherine in two episodes now. He's going to get eaten, isn't he?
I think so. And to answer your question, I knew straight away who my competition was. From the first task in that bridge walk, I knew that in my year it was Roisin and Bianca. It was two ladies as well.
100%.
The way they conducted themselves, the way they held themselves, they were fierce. And I knew I had my work cut out to beat them, but I knew from day one that it would be the three of us in the final five, and it was. And I think that people be sizing themselves up. But as you say, if I think about the strongest boy is nowhere in the realm of these three ladies at the moment that are at the top there. And maybe, hopefully, it is Alex or someone that is just sitting back at the moment. It could be Akshay. He just needs to recover from task one. But let's see what happens.
Yeah,
definitely. Agreed. Let's talk about. We'll come back to the data in a second. But let's talk a little bit about kind of the winning group. Then it's a difficult one not to argue. I mean, 0 purchases from both the healthcare company and the retail company for the boys, and 11,000 products purchased for the girls' toothbrush team. It was quite interesting the way everybody said that it looked a little bit more kind of babyish or a little bit more childish than a 6 to an 8-year-old. But ultimately, and the app was a bit weird, wasn't it? Like, to be honest, no offense to Francesca, but the app was weird. She was very strong, and this is what it needs to be. And I would have personally gone with the rewards on the app. So it was a little bit like the demonstration that Lord Sugar showed. By the way, the Lord Sugar character, how good was that?
That was really
good. That was me. I thought it was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. But like sort of merits. When people go to school, they get merits or they get gold stars, and they start to build up for something. So you want the story not to end after one teeth cleaning session. You want the story to end after 2 years of cleaning your teeth properly. Do you know what I mean? So you're always getting rewards. But that said, they did nail it with 11,000 hits. Obviously, the winning team deserved to win on that basis. What did you think of their app? Being what you do with Climb Online and the work that you're in, what did you think of the apps?
It wasn't very good. I actually thought the name that they went for on the logo was excellent. It copped a bit of flack on the actual program, but I thought it was pretty good. If you look at what the big toy retailers are doing, or you look at games like Roblox or any of those guys, they exactly pay you on a reward system. So kids 100%. Use their app, they use their tools, and by progressing through the system, you gain points to use in-store purchases or whatever. The big retailers have nailed this, and I think you're right, Lee, in what you say. It should have been a rewards app. It didn't make any sense. There was too much happening. It didn't really teach you how to brush your teeth well, and you didn't get anything out of it except a load of mess on the screen. So the app was poor, but where I thought the ladies did great was on the pitch, because if they really went in on the app, I think they were exposed, but their pitch was strong and they really sold it well. And one thing they did, which we all know, the customer is always right in sales. And when the retailer was saying, we don't like the app and we don't like the color, we would like to do this, they just said, we'll get it done for you. Done. We'll have that change for you. And that's why they got 11,000 sales.
Yeah, I thought that was quite interesting as well from Karen, because Karen wasn't Lord Sugar's aide on my series. We still had Nick and Margaret, but I actually pitched to Karen because she was part of my series, and I had to pitch her a pen. And she had a Mont Blanc, and I had to picture a big biro pen, which was a challenge in itself. But I love Karen. But she actually gave them a bit of flack to say, they just wanted to keep changing stuff. But I actually think that became quite endearing to the customer to actually say, look, they were using words like, we want to partner with you. This is a partnership. This isn't just about us flogging you a product. We want to help you. I actually wrote down on my notes, Q&A I thought was very good. I think that the pitch itself can always be quite standard. It's the Q&A where you get your credibility, and I just felt the ladies were excellent in their Q&A. I thought the boys were okay, but when Nicholas turned around, or Nick turned around and went, we went for the facts, and that's what we based on. I was like, whoa, dude, you cannot be doing that in front of the customer.
And how Nick he kind of massaged the customer research, figures, and he was saying, well, 50% of our demographic like it. Well, first of all, I'm afraid to tell you, 50% is still not a great percentage of liking a product. Secondly, that was at an audience size of 2. So you don't have any data, and I probably would have stayed quiet about that. Secondly, the girls had just been in and they asked if they could make some changes to their product, and the girls said, yes, we want to partner with you. They asked the boys the same thing. Would you consider changing the color? And they said, absolutely not.
Yeah,
so
Aaron weren't having it, was he?
You know, the customer was sitting there and they had 2 completely different styles, and they obviously preferred, you know, what they could grow and progress with the ladies team, and they let themselves down, I think.
Yeah, those massaging of the statistics really stuck out for me, which is, you know, forgive the phrase, but, you know, they're actually trying to polish a turd. And it was just unbelievable. Like, you know, okay, 50%. Well, that's actually 1 out of 5 people or the children that would have bought that product or asked their parents for it. But he was like, oh, yeah, that's 50% of the demographic. But then you've just discounted the entire gender by only going down the male route, and he kind of completely missed the point on that. And I thought that was what impressed me with the girls' pitch. They went straight in and said this is a gender neutral product, and you could see they got the buy-in straight away. And I would just echo what your chap said then. I think the girls' pitch was very professional, very deliberate in the type of language that they used, and you could see the audience, the potential clients, they pricked up and they were interested. And again, I think that was led by Francesco. And I want to just talk about Francesco a little bit, if that's okay, in terms of the leadership skills that she demonstrated. I mean, obviously, you've got the statistics there. She very much led the way on 20 points. If you then go into actually her graph, as you can see, it's pretty much wall to wall three.
100% stuff.
Brilliant. And then leadership, creative thinking, drive, and quality focus. I mean, I think she was a very strong leader, almost, dare I say, an old school leader, which is she had the vision, she demonstrated the direction of travel. The one bit I think that she maybe need to pick up on is, you know, there was individuals who were trying to contribute their ideas, who were trying to, I guess, work in more of a team orientated focus. And she very much was like, no, it's my way. And I think she just needs to work on that in the future.
Yeah, just on that though as well, and it's very difficult, Mark, coming over to you quickly as well. It's very difficult, isn't it, in that scenario when you're trying to put everything forward to impress Lord Sugar, and then also to manage a team of people you hardly know and all that sort of stuff. It's very, very difficult to then get them interpersonal skills correct straight away. I mean, you've got a balance between being everybody's friend but also being the leader. And actually, I felt that she imposed herself on. And look, if she'd have lost, maybe I'd have been a bit concerned about it, but she didn't. She won, and she won convincingly. So actually, she got the right decisions correct. I mean, I remember, I don't know if you ever felt this when you were project manager in your series, Mark, but I remember in series 4, which I won, task 9, task 10, sorry, the supercar task. There was 3 of us, and we had to sell supercars. And one of the candidates, Lucinda, but she was a nightmare on the task for us. And in the end, I just said, look, forget it. Me and Alex are dealing with it, and we've got to do it. And we've done it. We absolutely smashed it. We got through. And I got a bit of flack for isolating Lucinda, but we got the job done. And sometimes in business, you've got to do the job, haven't you, Mark?
100%. I don't think you could see a better graph at this stage, particularly like you say, you're working with people you don't know. And if you've got conviction about what you want to do, you've got to trust in yourself because you know yourself. And task 9 for me was selling hot tubs at a farm show. And I did exactly the same. Moved half by the way. Put myself on there, sold 11 hot tubs, won the task. And sometimes you've got to back yourself and you've got to back your instinct. And I think she does that well.
Yeah, I think it's quite interesting, obviously, with Catherine, who was team leader last week. And one of the points we made on last week's show was that there was almost a bit of a pig-headedness about her in terms of she just stuck to that bougie and she wouldn't essentially deviate from that. But I actually thought she worked better as like a sub-team leader. Yeah, she was able to, I guess, reflect on some of our ideas, and she stuck to her guns around the creative design and around some of just generally the way that she communicated. I thought she came across a lot better. And as you can see, her interpersonal skills have greatly improved, and she's a brilliant all-rounder there. Not one red flag coming out from Catherine from week 2. So where do you see her as we progress through the series?
Well, what's interesting is in task 1, you see people's raw personalities before they've got to meet really or speak to anyone else. Now what you'll see is people will form friendships and relationships in the house, and they form almost like micro clusters out on task. So as I got into the house, I was able to form little teams and relationships with people and use them on task. And I feel that's what's happened with her. She was almost like a different, better person in the second task. She was working much more collaborative. And I thought to myself, maybe she's had a chance to meet a few of the girls, understand that she can work with these people. And I see her going definitely to the final 5, but a long way, I think.
Yeah, I'm smiling because I'm just reminiscing on the same thing. I eyeballed Alex as one of my main competition on the bridge before it even started. And then Alex took control of the first task, which we lost as the lads, but he come through it. And then I become, without a doubt, a massive bond between me and Alex in the house, without a doubt. And I knew that Alex was really, really strong. So I knew that if I had some really strong people working with me, then firstly, if we completely messed up the task, they're never going to be back in the boardroom, right? So that's a slight strategy. But the second key thing is we're more likely to win if we've got really good people that are collaborative. That's just normal, and that happens in business, right? So that's the bit I always think, and maybe this is where the women are smarter than the men this year or on subsequent years as well, is that the lads are kind of almost going at it as an individual, whereas the ladies are going at it as a collaborative, and they're using each other to get them through to the next task and through to the next task. Do you get what I mean?
100%. Can I ask you guys a question? Because I've watched the first 2 episodes and I can't understand. Have they stopped naming the teams now? I don't remember or recognize that they've named the teams this year.
They haven't. There's no team name. I mean, can't believe it. Team Alpha. That's what I'm talking about. I mean, come on, Team Alpha. Yeah, they haven't named them. What was your team that you won with?
It was so bad. It was Summit. Team Summit. And
Summit. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
I know that bit's always a bit cringe and they come up with the worst names, but I even went back and I was like, okay, so there must be no team name. So that must be a new thing that they're doing in the program.
Yeah, I love the team name piece. The team name task is like one of the best tasks. I mean, we built business off the back of it, to be fair. Loads of people. It's like a bit of a... I remember sitting there once and you get out of the... where Chrysler's back in the day. And you get out of Chrysler and you met, oh, you all right? How you get? Oh, yeah, I'm Lee. Oh, hi, Chris. Yeah, I'm Mark, whatever. What do you do? And it's so awkward, isn't it? You're like, I don't really know what to say. I don't know what your background is. I haven't got a clue. Oh, and by the way, you're going to go and sell fish with each other for the next 6 hours on, in a fish market stall. It was crazy time. So, we have that inside knowledge. Let's talk about, the actual result then itself, as we said. It was definitely the right result, and I think well done to the girls, and the boys are having a mare. Do you think Lord Sugar got it right, Mark, this week with regards to actually the person he fired? I mean, who was up for firing, Chris? It was Aaron.
It was Aaron, Connor, and Nick.
Connor and Nick, of course, and Connor went. Weirdly enough, I thought Connor might do okay in this series, and obviously don't put your bets behind me, listeners and viewers, because clearly he's gone already. But what did you think, Mark? Did he get it right?
If I was Connor, I'd feel hard done by, if I'm completely honest with you.
I agree.
I think Aaron got away by the skin of his teeth. He was the one that designed the brown log. He was the one that messed the pitch up and stayed with the brown log. I think he was very lucky. And Connor was one of the only guys, like we saw from the stats from your platform, that put himself forward. And he fell on his sword because of that. And that is the risk that you run by being, putting yourself out there on the losing team. And I think it's a shame because, like you, Lee, I thought he was going to go a long way and he could probably feel pretty hard done by.
Chris, have we got some data on Connor just while we're chatting? Because I agree with that. I think that he actually said that he's got some experience in designing apps, and that's why Aaron made him the sub-team leader. And like you say, he fell on his sword completely. I mean, but look, some of the stats that we've got up here, Chris, just talk us through them.
Yeah, so I think, he communicated okay. I think what was interesting is when some of the other members of his sub-team were trying to put ideas forward. He had his head in his hands at some point, and he showed that commercial awareness to shoot them down, and that's why I think commercial awareness was good. I think what ultimately scuppered him is that he put himself forward as the tech expert, and the app wasn't good enough. And I think, yes, they were obviously the toothbrush was poor, but I think the app was too basic. And I think because he put himself to say, oh, I'm this tech expert, and it didn't almost like meet expectation. I think Alan Sugar kind of called bullshit on it and was just saying, you're full of hot air basically. So I think there's an aspect of that, and he couldn't influence Alan Sugar any other way, hence why the influencing skills there were red. So I think it's a shame. I actually thought he had some potential, and for me, I think with regards to like Nick, who was in the final two, I think he made some errors and he didn't put himself forward enough, which is the reason he was brought into the boardroom.
I'll be honest with you. I'll be honest with you guys and listeners and viewers as well. I would have been really torn between firing Nick, if I'm honest, and just simply for the fact that in front of a client at a pitch, and this is easy for me to say because I've been there and done it now, to be fair, but in front of a client, in front of a pitch, you don't shoot them down. Obviously we didn't get their names, but the guy's face said it all on the client's panel or the customer's panel, where he was like, really? And I was like, you don't say that. I think that could have been a situation. I think with Aaron, his enthusiasm, his passion, his way that he could be taught, he could be coached, if you like, by Lord Sugar's team. Well, I'm not sure you can teach that to Nick. Like Nick's interpersonal skills around that. We'll find out. I think Lord Sugar's probably done the right thing in the sense of, right, okay, you're project manager this week, because he's got to be PM, right, in the next show.
Yeah, definitely. I think Nick was lucky. He didn't contribute much, and when he did, he insulted the customer and he contributed those poor statistics. And I think I think Lord Sugar would have been on the fence with him, and that's why he's kept him and made him project manager. If he loses as project manager this week, I'd say he might be going home.
100% agree. 100%. Well, look, I mean, time is pressing on. Like I said to you in agreement, I can talk to you all day, to be fair. But we've got a couple more questions on this one's episode, and then we'll move on. Who do you think is one to watch? And can I get a prediction, Mark, from you on who might end up winning the show? I know probably at this stage it's easier to call your top five, as all of us do as fans of the show. But who do you think that's showcasing their skills right now in early stages?
If you think about who's showcasing, well, for me, it's Catherine, it's Francesca and Amy. They're the ladies that are showcasing their talent and how to push themselves. I think I'd like to see Alex Short in there. I think he's got something. I've looked a bit into his business background. He's got a good business. I think there's a few areas there. I actually think Akshay, with his digital marketing background, could be strong. So I think those
collaboration there, Mark. There's a collaboration going on there.
Maybe, but I've always got a bit of support for the digital marketers out there. But I like people that really put themselves out there, that are forceful and even are wrong at some point, because, like you, Lee, I know in business, I get it wrong as much as I get it right, but you've got to be out there and trying things and pushing your business forward and pushing your people. And, those three girls are pretty impressive right now. And I think they're going to be ones to watch throughout the whole thing. But the thing that could let them down is if you go out big with one of those ideas and you lose, you can go out with one of those ideas. So it's going to be really interesting. I think the series it's going to be a good series. Who do you think?
I agree. I concur. Actually, I do agree. I earmarked Francesca from last week, and I just thought to myself, I think she's got something going on. I have to be honest. I did like Catherine. Amy is for me probably third in that group, but she's been quite steady. I'll be very interested to see how she is when she project manages, because she, for me, feels like, look, we were saying before about Francesca is interpersonal skills. She hasn't got that many, whereas actually Amy is probably the complete opposite. She's very inclusive. What do you think? What do you think? Everybody. And I wonder whether or not, maybe from Connor's perspective, he couldn't really make his own decisions. Maybe that's where Amy might fall down. And it depends what task that she ends up getting. I do like Alex. Again, just because his background, knowing you, knowing Ricky, knowing me, Joe, I can just see kind of there's a pattern maybe there. So maybe not from what we've seen on the show, but maybe for what Lord Sugar likes in a business partner and in that type of thing. But I think there's a couple of other people that we haven't really seen a lot of. I mean, Stephanie out of the girls, I haven't really seen a lot of Stephanie. Sharma, I want to see Sharma shine because I think she wanted to this week and we haven't seen a lot of her. And Chris, via the platform, you said earlier that Brittany didn't really do anything this week. So I'd like to see them step up. It always gets more interesting for me when the groups mix, because you just get in a zone of, all right, I know everybody, I know what they're like, and then bam, it gets moved around, and all of a sudden now Catherine's working with Navid and Akshay and Akeem, and before she was just working with all the ladies. So it does make a huge difference on that. But top 5, I would say that they're probably them 4 or 5 people that probably would be in the top 5. We've got to have some lads in there. Lads, come on, you've got to start stepping up. I'm sure they will.
It sounds really arrogant to say this, but you said something before which is really interesting. Is you see Alex and you know what I'm like, and Ricky and whatever, and I do the same thing. A lot of the people I can back for the win, not because of anything they've done in the show so far. I believe winners are winners, and I know you, and I know Ricky and Leah and Tom, and there's a lot of similarities between all of the winners and how they conduct themselves, and that won't be lost on Alan Sugar. He'll be noticing between the successful apprentice winners and the people that are in the boardroom.
Just looking at the platform again, Chris, if you can just click on Francesca, for example, again, just to show the viewers, and obviously people listening on the audio platform via Audio Boom, what we're showing at the moment now is the graphs, and the graphs are actually showcasing how people scored against the key competencies. And really what we're talking about here, or Mark, what you're talking about there, is knowing somebody with the right behaviors, the right personality, the right competency. Right. This is absolutely paramount in permanent recruitment, or choosing a business partner. It's absolutely paramount. So you can actually see on some of the graphs, on some of the candidates, that that communication, leadership, drive and quality, influencing skills are all the key behaviors and competencies we want to see. And actually the girls are scoring much higher in comparison to the boys. And it would be how they score throughout the whole series that will determine if they end up winning the show or not. But there's one key factor there, which is Lord Sugar. Lord Sugar will be the one in the end that decides, right, I can work with this individual or not. I've got all of the data that I need: personalities, behaviors, competencies, business plans, how they've seen it, how they've fared, and this is the decision I'm going to make. And I would obviously say in Series 4, clearly Lord Sugar got the decision. Well, I'm not quite sure in Series 10, to be fair. Oh, brilliant stuff. Well, look, that does bring us to the end of In the Line of Hire. Absolutely outstanding. It was an amazing task, really. The girls have actually blown it away. The search is well and truly on. We'll be back next time to review task 3, which interestingly is non-alcoholic drink task. So that's going to be very, very interesting to see what they come up with. There'll be a lot of people thinking that they don't want to drink some of their medicine concoctions or whatever they do come up with. But Mark, before we let you go, it's been absolutely brilliant this week to have you on. I'd love to have you on back later on in the series when we do go live as well, have that interactive audience. Where can people find you? Where can people follow you? Kind of what you're up to? Any big projects you've got going on at the moment?
Well, thanks for having me, Lee, and Chris. It's great, and I'll continue to listen to the show. My business is called Climb Online. We're a digital marketing agency, and you can find me on any social media as a verified user on any social media. Just search for Mark Wright, and I'm not the guy from The Only Ways Essex. I'm the other one.
She always gives you. I don't know what Lord Sugar's got going on. He always says about don't like the celebrity, but he's hired Lee McQueen, which is an Alexander McQueen namesake. He's hired Mark Wright, which is a Mark Wright namesake, and he's obviously hired Ricky Martin as well. Do you know what I mean? Fair enough. We must be having something going on. Chris, as always, absolutely brilliant to have you on board with the data analysis of Phoenix 51. Pleasure. Mark, you're a superstar. I will reach back out to you. I'd love to have you come back on one of our live shows towards the end of the episode. Would you be up for doing that?
Of course, it'd be great, and it's good to see you both. And I look forward to seeing if our predictions are correct.
Definitely stuff. Well, look, there you have it. The search is way in advance now. We are down to 14 candidates, and the search continues. Tune in. Remember, you can follow us on Audio Boom. Subscribe to the channel, like it, pump it out across everywhere. This has been In the Line of Hire, and remember, Lord Sugar, as always, has the final answer. Thanks very much.